Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Izzy Cinematic Escape on YouTube. I apologize for the lengthy delays as far as reviews are concerned. I've been going to school and then working on top of it as well, so it's keeping me busy, and I hope to remain consistent at some point with these reviews as far as uploading is concerned. You like my Purple Rain t-shirt that I recently bought? I do like it myself. I find it pretty awesome. Today's review is based off the 1976 film Taxi Driver, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro, Peter Boyle, Sybil Shepherd, Harvey Keitel, and it's one of those type of films that was very controversial for the 70s. And one of the main reasons why that I do remember that particular type of controversy was my mom has a VHS copy of the same exact film. And one day I just remember asking her about it and how she described how violent it was just by the 70s standards alone. How that type of brutality and violence and acting wasn't necessarily predominant in cinema at that time. One day in particular, I want to say one night, I decided to sit back and watch the film. And one of the main things that really stuck out to me as far as this film is concerned was how ultra realistic it is. It just has a very unique, raw type of brutality into it that I feel that is ultimately missing within the confines of cinema today. Martin Scorsese has this unique, specific tone when it's capturing the element of New York City of the 70s, where you had the CD porn theaters, you had the pimps, you had the prostitutes. Everything just looks so run down, dirty, washed out, colorless. It just seems so lifeless at that time. And yet on that same token, there is a sense of dramatic beauty within that confines of the tone. It just seems so. It's almost as if that if you were living within that time period, you could literally just picture everything coming to life and taking and actually engaging in that unpredictable, chaotic lifestyle that was existing, I'm assuming, within the New York City structure at that point. Robert De Niro's performance as Travis Bickle became quite iconic when you think about it. I mean, he is forever cemented within the popular culture, not just Robert De Niro, but Travis Bickle. Just his look alone with the mohawk and having that militant style of dress just is very, very iconic, and his quotes are very much cemented within popular culture as well. And the film is basically about Travis Bickle, played by Robert De Niro, who was a recently discharged veteran from the Marines and was involved in the Vietnam War. And because of his traumatic experience within the war and his time in the military, he is very, I guess, unpredictable insomniac who applies for a job as a taxi driver in order to combat his inability to sleep. And he's witnessing all types of decay within the society structure of New York City. And when I mean society's decay, I'm talking about the prostitutes, the drugs, the pimps, everything that you could possibly imagine that he deems immoral is what's really plaguing him and driving him down into a state of complete and total insanity, if you will. And it's all about following Travis Bickle's descent into madness, and how from the looking at it from the outside perspective, you feel as if that he means well, he has a heart of gold, that he sincerely wants to help people, but he is so socially awkward that he doesn't know how to relate to people without creating that ultimate sense of, this guy seems off. I mean, he really seems off, but at the same time, you feel a strong sense of sympathy for him. And he really portrays that role so exponentially well that you truly believe that this guy, and most likely these type of individuals do exist. They are just struck within their own powerful sense of loneliness, and that they're just looking for anything or anyone to attach themselves to in order to feel as if they have a sense of belonging. But he does an amazing job within the confines of this role. And then Martin Scorsese, people have often said that Martin Scorsese's best films are the ones that should have been nominated for the Academy Award, or at least should have won. And Martin Scorsese has directed an exponential amount of wonderful films way before The Departed. You have, for example, this film, Casino, Goodfellas, Raging Bull, Last Temptation of Christ, Cape Fear. I mean, he's done so many great films that ultimately should have received the Academy Award. And when I say that, I do mean this film specifically. He definitely should have won an Academy Award for this film, simply because it is my favorite Martin Scorsese film of all time. Absolutely nothing comes close. I think the only film that might come close to this, for me personally, is either The Last Temptation of Christ or maybe Goodfellas or Casino. It's always kind of a toss-up with those two. However, this is still my favorite Martin Scorsese film. Harvey Keitel plays a pimp. And whenever I see Harvey Keitel in this role, I can't help but laugh simply because it's just so unique in seeing him in this role that I can't help but laugh because it's so out of the norm for him to a degree, and just seeing him as a pimp is so outlandish and over the top, and he has a wonderful, morbid sense of humor that you can't help but, I guess, laugh at some of the inappropriate jokes that he makes, and maybe it's because I have a dry sense of humor as well, but he just does. He's just he's one of the highlights of the film. This is also, if I'm not mistaken, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it's Jodie Foster's first film, acting debut, and I want to say she was either 12 or 13 years old when this film was made, and she plays the prostitute that Travis is trying to rescue from the clutches of just the seedy life, the prostitute's life in New York City. One of the many highlights of this film, other than the acting itself, is the characterization of the lifestyle of New York, the city life, the porn theaters, the dark atmosphere, the shadow, the people hanging out in the shadows, and you have the fights, you have the drugs, you have the pimps, you have all these rundown convenience stores, and it's just crime riddled everywhere. Then you have the politicians who are coming out attempting to present this message that they are going to save New York City, and yet they're really not attempting to do anything other than, at least in my opinion, give false promises. That's also another beautiful thing about this film that Martin Scorsese implemented, was how you have all this decadence going on within these city structures, and yet there's no type of improvement whatsoever. It is a reflection of society, by at least by 1976 standards, from this perspective with the film. The music, I love the jazzy type music that really you hear echo in the background, just gives it that much more, I guess, melancholy feel to it. But when it comes right down to the violence factor, I can see why it was controversial for 1976. Just the gun violence and the blood, I just don't think you really saw anything like that, of that magnitude, for 1976. And it caught me off guard. And I think that's what I really loved about the film, is just, it didn't play it safe. It really presented this whole dirty, brutal, unpredictable, chaotic sense of structure that once everything came to a head, it just completely caught everybody by surprise. But Taxi Driver, for all intents and purposes, is truly one of the greatest films ever made, bar none. I absolutely adore this film with a passion. And one of my favorite moments of the film, and this is a spoiler here, is when you have Travis Bickle, there's this moment where he's talking to the wizard, and he is attempted to, I guess, vent his frustrations of how he is really literally reaching out for help. I want you to help me. I need someone to help me with these horrible thoughts that I'm experiencing within the confines of my head. And the wizard is not really able to understand what he's going through. And there's this moment where this pimp, or I'm assuming this gang leader, is walking past Travis, and Travis and Robert De Niro, the character of Travis Bickle, is glaring at this man. And the moment that I can just remember when I watched that moment was, he looked exactly like how Frank Castle would look. And in my opinion, I felt if they made The Punisher in 1976, Robert De Niro of that year would have been perfect. He looked exactly how I always envisioned Frank Castle would look, and just how he's glaring at him is such a menacing, cold stare that you just know that that it's a simmering rage, and Robert De Niro captured that moment brilliantly. Just a simmering rage that's just waiting to burst at the seams. And it's just a wonderful film. And aside from when he's talking to himself in the mirror, and he had that wonderful catchphrase, or that question, "You talking to me? You talking to me?" And it's pointing the gun and practicing how he would shoot somebody. It was just a wonderful. Everything about this film is perfect from beginning to end. Just absolutely love it. And of course, the ambiguous ending is left up to debate. But either way, I hope, at least at some time in the future, that this film is never remade, nor does it receive a sequel, because it is perfect the way it is, and you simply cannot go wrong with this. I don't recommend it for children, obviously, but it's okay. I do believe it's okay for someone who may be 13 or 14, as they're old enough to handle some of the subject matter and the violence that is occurring on the screen. Other than that, though, It's a wonderful film. I highly recommend it. And that is my review for 1976 Taxi Driver. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Continue to keep an eye on my YouTube. For anyone who is new to the channel and wants to continue to spread the word, feel free to hit the subscribe button below and spread the word to your friends and family. Anyone who might be interested in other films that have a similar tone to this, for example, Joker, Desperado, the El Mariachi, Goodfellas, Casino. There's just a lot, and of course, I just mentioned the majority of Robert De Niro, not Robert De Niro, but the majority of Martin Scorsese films. But those are the type of films that I do recommend if you are looking for anything that has a similar premise or a tone to the concept of the storylines that Martin Scorsese creates. But that is my review of Taxi Driver. I hope you guys remain safe and stay healthy. Peace out.